What's up, y'all? My name is Jay Cash. I am a lease operator with Wilson Logistics, and I'm gonna basically break down. I should have started this long ago, but better late than never. I've been with the company exactly 1 year, and I'm gonna basically, as best as I can, recall all the information from pretty much the day that I had started. That this was the career to me up until now. And then moving forward after that, we'll probably give you guys like, day-to-day updates and stuff like that. So I'm going to use these first few edit videos to tell you guys, how orientation went, what travel was like, what the training was like, and just kind of walk you through that. Now, again, I do drive for Wilson Logistics as a lease operator. The only experience I have company was training with the company. If you drive for a different company, what I will say is most of the mega carriers are the same. Wilson Logistics works hand in hand with Prime Inc., which is one of, if not the largest mega carriers out there. So although Wilson's fleet is kind of small, we pull Prime Freight, at least my division, OTR, over the road. I think the local drivers do pull Wilson Freight, but for the most part, most Wilson trucks you see will have a Prime trailer attached. So let's go ahead and just jump straight in. Again, I'm kind of going off of memory here, so y'all work with me. So let's go back. Let's start from like that inkling that was put in my head that this was going to be the career for me, right? So a little bit of background for me. I'm from Orlando, Florida, born and raised, Sanford, Florida, to be specific. At the time this decision was made, I lived in Denver, where I'd been probably about 2 years before I left. And then literally the day that or not the day, but the week that I started training at the Wilson Logistics Terminal, I was moving, like literally unpacking in Houston, Texas. So I've been a little bit of everywhere. Married, 2 kids, been married 7 years. I got 2 girls, 1 7 and 1 2. They are everything for me and the whole reason that I'm starting to do this. Obviously being out here, I miss them a whole lot. But I know that everything that I'm doing right now is setting us up for a better future. So it does make it a little bit more tolerable to do. All right. So why did I get started trucking? I think that if you are going to do this, you should have your why, whether you write it down on a piece of paper, whether you have it on your mind 24/7. The only thing, in my opinion, that's going to keep you sane out here while you're driving this truck, dealing with all these crazy four-wheelers and everything, you really got to understand why you're out here. And for me, the big thing was I wanted to be debt-free, right? I had been saying for years, I'm not super big on manifestation mantras and stuff, but one mantra that I always had in my mind, I want to be debt-free by 2023. And I'm going to tell you guys how, I don't know if serendipitous is the word for this, but pretty much just how the universe works, right? I have been saying that to myself in years, what little meditation and manifestation I practice, I want to be debt-free by 2023. Now, at the start of 2023 is probably my financial low point. I'm living in Denver, cost of living is high. I'm barely scraping by. I don't have a job. Like, I started the year terrible, like the exact opposite of what I had sought out. But the way the universe works, literally, literally in the last week of 2023 is when I got my CDL. So although I didn't pay off my debt in 2023 like I wanted to, the seed for me to be debt free, I got at the last possible moment. Like, that's just how the universe works. Now, outside of that, wanting to be debt free, I want to take this time to see a little bit more of the country. I've lived in Atlanta, I lived in Denver, I lived in Tallahassee, Orlando, Tampa, Houston. But I want to see the parts of the country you don't usually get access to. Part of me being debt free, I want to buy a house. I want to be very educated on where I choose to buy a house. I've pretty much lived in either super big cities or towns with a couple hundred people my whole life. I've lived in the smallest and the biggest counties in Florida. So this is an opportunity for me to see what's out there. Maybe as much as I hate moving, see what's out there. It may be better for my family that way. Who knows? So that's part of it as well. And then that independence, right? I've been working these jobs, especially since COVID, I've been working from home. You know, a lot of picking up the phone, doing a lot of cold calls, doing a lot of sales, all of that. And a lot of that I did with my girls at home with me. So it does make it difficult to earn a living when, you know, you got them fighting and crying and stuff in the background. But then also like just not having control of where my life goes. You know what I mean? Uh, there's certain things, minimal stuff, getting tattoos. You know, I want to be able to get tattoos and not have to worry about whether I'm approachable or not, or get piercings and wonder about whether I can do this, that, or the third. This is going to be my way to really do whatever it is I want to do. I never have to work as a employee. Even though I drive for a company as a lease operator, I do feel like I'm more so in control of my destiny, if that makes sense. I'm a 1099 employee, so I haven't filed taxes yet. So it's gonna be something that's different for me. But I literally create a chart. I can see exactly, pretty much within about $15 to $25 what I'm gonna get paid based off like this spreadsheet that I've created for myself. Outside of that, understanding how to run a business, understanding how income and revenue and all of these things work, like I have a better understanding of these things. I've seen P&L statements in certain companies I've worked for, but now I'm in control and I get to decide a lot of that stuff. So those are the main reasons. I would say another good reason, which I didn't realize until I got out here, is actually getting my mind right. I'm still not where I want to be fitness-wise, but as far as doing my 10K steps a day, as far as eating better and not spending money on going out to eat all the time, it's so easy to do out here too, by the way. I've had a lot of mishaps, a lot of missteps. But for the most part, I've gotten myself right. You know, I'm noticing my skin is clearer. I feel better. Only thing I really got to improve on is sleep. And, you know, that is what it is. You'll learn out here, and we'll discuss that over these next few videos. With sleep, you just got to get it when you can, man. Especially if you teaming. It's rough. So those are my whys. For the most part, that's pretty much where I'm at with everything. I noticed my video was kind of lagging, so I apologize if you're looking for like high quality. This is just something I'm like, yo, I'm tired of not doing this thing and getting in my head. I'm just turn the camera on and go and see what it looks like. So if y'all see me looking down, I'm just kind of observing how everything's going. This is something new for me. The time that it took for me to decide that this is what I want to do and to go take my test was 3 weeks. So I'm going to tell you guys every mishap I had along the way and what that process was like, especially when you're talking to so many different companies. So let's say, I know I got my CDL towards the end of October 2023, or my CDL permit. So early October is when I decide I want to go ahead and make this a career path without really knowing much of what to expect. I didn't even know, man, when I tell you I didn't know anything, I didn't know anything. Some of the stuff, like now that I'm driving, I'm like, man, like I was completely clueless, but I was just like, enough is enough and we got to try to make it work. So one of the main things that you're going to have to do is study. The way that I went about studying, I'm going to tell you, when I was studying, I literally was only studying for one component of the test. So when I showed up for test day and there's like 4 or maybe 5 different tests you have to take, I'm like, oh, wow. So yeah, the first time I went, I failed because I only studied general knowledge. I think there's general knowledge, there's like an air brake test, there's a combination test, and at least 1 or 2 others. You guys can look that up. Again, I'm just pressing record and I'm just going. So I don't remember every test that I had to take, but there's about 4 or 5 different tests. So the first time I went, general knowledge, I passed. I even passed some of the ones I didn't study for, just kind of, a lot of it is common sense. These tests don't change very much. You can pretty much guess, okay, this sounds right and get it right. But ultimately, I didn't pass. Came back the very next day, passed with flying colors on all of my tests. What I will say to you, everybody's study habits are different, right? The thing, if you're not a good studier, or even if you are and you just want to know the best way to study, find a practice test. Some of the questions are word for word is what's on these practice tests. So if you even can remember, I think you need a 20 out of 25 for each test to pass or something to that effect. If you can remember what's on those practice tests, you'll pass the actual test. Some of it, I mean, is copy and paste. So basically, after I took the test, found the practice quiz, did those over and over and over and over and over again. When you show up for test day, you'd be like, dang, like, it's almost scary how easy it is to take the test to get your permit. So you got to do that. You got to do your DOT physical, right? It's nothing crazy. You know, pretty much like any physical you've ever been required to get in your life. You know, they want to see if you can raise your arms, get your blood pressure, make sure your vision and your hearing's right. Nothing crazy. Now, depending on what company you go for, you will have to take a drug test. What type of drug test, though, is the difficult part. And this is something that threw me for a loop. Even though I don't partake, I do live with people that do. So I don't know if that may have been an issue, but for some companies that I had to get a hair follicle test. And by the way, it's the dullest razor ever. The lady that was shaving my leg hairs, because I'm bald, obviously, you can't get it from my head. Like I had scars all over my leg. Oddly enough, for some companies, I passed, some I didn't. But the company that I was going to go with, Schneider, I was booked, got my flight details, all of that. And then literally the day before, they're like, just kidding. So I was getting ready to leave. And let me tell you, if I made a decision early October, 3 weeks later, I got my CDL permit. When I got my permit, maybe it was a Thursday, I was booked to leave on a flight Sunday morning. So that's how quick it can be if you're ready. If you get your CDL permit, if you give your recruiter everything they're asking for, you can be out within 48 hours. So be prepared for that. Take the test, because nobody can take away. I think the results are, your permit is good for a certain amount of time. Want to say a few months. For me, I think it might have been 6 months or something like that. 3 months or 6 months. And I think it actually varies depending on your state. So I got my permit in Colorado. I had to go to Houston to get my permanent, because at that point I'm a Texas resident. But backtracking a little bit, if you're prepared, you pass the test, get your permit, communicate with your recruiter, you can literally be on the first flight out of wherever you're from. Now, with some companies, it does differ, but it was pretty much what it was for me. I gave them what I needed Thursday, and I was gone. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it may have been too, I do use CBD products, so it could be that I use them to kind of help me relax. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably exactly what it was. Hair follicle, obviously, it holds on to that stuff for a lot longer, but because I was weary of it messing with my tests, when I did make the decision, I did stop taking my gummies at night, which is why on my urine tests, I passed no problem, without having to do all the crazy stuff. It's like by that point, whatever was in my system is out. So there's that. So Schneider wouldn't take me because of that. I also applied with Swift. They wouldn't take me because of something with the college degree. So in the application, I mentioned that I went to college, and so they need a degree or transcript. They need a transcript. And unfortunately, I owe my school money, so I can't access the portal to get a transcript. It's not a requirement to be a college graduate, but I don't know if it was just an issue with my recruiter or whatever, but because I couldn't provide them with that information, they said I'm ineligible to work for them. With Prime, it is something on my background from years ago, no vehicle accidents or DUIs or anything like that. And it wasn't even something that came up on my background. It's something that information that I volunteered to them. But long story short, basically, I had a situation, something that I got removed from my record. I mean, it literally might have been on there for a couple days, but it was a situation where There was just a misunderstanding. Police were called. It looked like I was the aggressor in the situation. Never put my hands on anybody, um, but ultimately had to go do a day in jail, get my day in court. I got released. I paid my fine. That's what it was. Nothing that would come up on my background, but when they asked during the test, like, have you ever been arrested or anything? I indicated yes, and then they asked for paperwork. I told them, this is, showing that the charges were dropped. Like, it wasn't really that big of a deal, or so I thought. But that made me ineligible to drive for prime. And then it's just more or less pretty much the same with any other company I drove for. But with Wilson, everything was A-okay. I hadn't heard of them, never seen their trucks, or maybe I have and just haven't been aware of it. But it didn't seem to really bother them, which is, for me, a little weird because they do pull prime freight. But regardless, that ended up being the company that I went with. I applied with Werner, applied with what is the I can't really remember all the companies, but all in all, I think it was about 9 companies I was talking to. K&L or something like KLLM, Roll, which I guess I wasn't in area. Quite a few companies, but Wilson was the one. Now I was prepared to leave early November, but then came the realization that as I'm looking online, what the pay will look like for that training period. And I'm looking and I'm like, there's no way we're going to be able to keep our place in Denver. We're paying upwards of like $2,400 for rent. So ultimately decided to move, which delayed my start. I could have started as soon as, late October, early November, didn't start until December 10th. So it's actually been almost exactly a year. Today's December 9th. So, that's how that process went. So unfortunately, I had to let them know, like, hey, I passed this, gave them everything they needed. But I had to handle business. So we tie up all our loose ends in Denver. We had to do a lot to get down there. I mean, we sold my wife's car, which was paid off, in order to get everything, pay off the rent where we were, pay the down payments and everything where we were going, make sure that they wouldn't starve while I'm not really bringing any money in as the primary breadwinner. So it was a lot. All in all, though, worth it. We cut our, living expenses in half. And I'm making right now over double what I was before. So very much worth it, in my opinion. As far as what the beginning of the orientation process is like, so once you're approved and everything, they pay for your flight out there if you need a flight. I want to say they give reimbursement if you travel yourself, but I'm not entirely sure. And, you stay at the Baymont Inn. I'm not going to say it's the greatest hotel, but it's at least clean. It's not run down and like a lot of the hotels in the area are. So that part is cool. And free breakfast. For me, when you're up there, especially when you're not making money and you didn't save money or, prepare yourself financially, that free breakfast is everything. I never really am a breakfast person, but when I was there, I was tearing it up. I mean, it's hotel breakfast. So it's powdered eggs, it's pancakes, it's fruit, yogurt, it's, sausage links, oatmeal. Like it's not a whole lot, but it's enough for, at least for me, like it was like the highlight of every day. While you're away from home and like getting adjusted and everything. But anyway, they pay for your flights. You get your itinerary, you land. There'll be a gentleman. You'll probably meet him, Tommy. I don't know if he's still there or not. He'll take you to where you need to go. Once everybody gets off. And it's like different people coming in from different flights and everything. But we weren't there long. They have the itinerary, so you won't be waiting there long. And the shuttle's going back and forth from the hotel to the Baymont. You'll see him a lot every day at the terminal. He will take you from the hotel there, and back. If you need to take a trip to Walmart, he'll take you to the Walmart closest to the hotel and then get you back to the hotel after your day at the terminal. But so how that looks like, you get off the flight, you get in the van, they take you to the Baymont. If you have a roommate, at that point, you'll meet them, and then you'll get your keys there. You do have to, I think it's every Tuesday and Friday, get the key re-keyed so that, I guess for security purposes, I don't know. So you'll most likely, if you have a class big enough, you'll most likely have a roommate if they need to. I went through probably about 3 my whole process. In the initial process, while we're going through uh, the the preparation to get us ready for the test. And then after that, I had somebody come in who was in the next class while I was waiting for my trainer to go on the road. And then when I came back after my training, I had another roommate who was somebody who was getting ready to get their own truck to go out. So you'll be back several times over the first few months back in Springfield at the Baymont, unless you make your own arrangements. We did have somebody in our class that was from Springfield, so obviously you didn't have to stay there. But outside of that, that's what it'll be. And again, all of that stuff is paid for. Your transportation to and from, your breakfast, and your transportation to get to Springfield, all paid for, right? So how it's gonna look, the van's gonna show up 6:30 every morning sharp. If you do not have a CDL, you need to be the first person on that van. The reason I say this is you're gonna have all kinds of people with you, people that don't have their CDL and are there at the terminal training. You're gonna be there with people who have their CDL and are waiting for upgrades. You're gonna have people that are just there for whatever reason, right? Make sure, do not let anybody take your spot. You need to be on the first van going to the terminal. I've seen it happen a couple times with one of the roommates that I was assigned. I don't think he ended up making it. Granted, he was a little lazy anyway, but make sure you're on that van. It leaves at 6:30 sharp. You get to the terminal, and it's a lot of getting to know each other, getting acclimated, learning names, all that stuff. But they put you right to it. So that is one thing that I personally liked about the training. I don't know if everybody's going to be like that, but I enjoyed that. You sit down, they go over a few things. They take you right outside. It was cold as hell that day. I was not comfortable. But they put you right on the truck, not inside the truck, but like you're going up and down the truck, looking under the truck, looking at the back of the trailer and everything. They take you right out there, right? Kind of get you acclimated to what to expect on a truck, where certain things are. It is a lot of classroom time. I struggle personally with classroom time, and I'm right up there up the front every day. So I'm surprised I made it through, only because I tend to doze off. Once people start talking for too long, like if I had to watch this video, I'd be asleep right now. But it is a lot of classroom time, but there's a lot of hands-on. You get so much time to just practice maneuvers and everything. But basically, they just go through the basics, man. What I will say, your training at the terminal, they're not there to teach you how to drive. They are there to teach you how to pass the test. So keep that in mind. We had a lot of people in our class that were asking all kinds of questions and circumstantial stuff. And it's just like, yo, like, it holds the class back. 1, 2, it makes them frustrated because you guys are asking questions about, and you don't even know if you're gonna pass the test yet. And you're asking questions. Okay, when we're out there, like, yes, they are there to teach us about our logs and our hours and, safety things, but soak in what you can. If it's a question as it relates to passing the test, ask it. If it's not gonna help you pass the test, you're going to have so many opportunities to ask questions, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's basically how the orientation works. You get there, 6:30 is classroom time. You'll learn about maneuvers. You'll go outside. They'll break it down for you step by step, every single maneuver. It's not at all how you're going to really do it in the real world, unless that's how you work and you're super methodical about your driving. Again, they're there to teach you how to pass the test. So when they tell you, turn the wheel all the way to the left, stop, turn the wheel all the way to the right, go back, it's there to teach you to pass. When you get out on the real world, whatever works for you, but do it the Wilson way, as they say. We had so many people get into it with trainers because they wanted to put their own sauce on it. Just do it the way they teach you. Do it the way they teach you, and you will pass. Out of our 9, 8 of us passed on the first try. The guy that didn't pass, maybe I'll talk about that I don't want to get too ahead of myself there. You will take a test, I believe either at the end of day 2 or beginning of day 3, your air brake test. If you do not pass this test, you will be sent home. It shouldn't be that hard, but again, everybody's different. People overthink. Some people are not good studiers. What I would say for our class, one thing that helped us Monday night, the first day, when we got done with class, we all met in the dining area of the hotel and we went over. They give you a script. So you're not sitting there blindly studying stuff. If you're good with memory and you memorize the script, you will pass the air brake test. If you don't have the best memory, maybe what helped us a lot, we all went one by one. We asked questions, we did cards, like we did all kinds of things to help each other. I would suggest that. And I hate group study. I hate it. I've never been that type of person. I want to do it on my own time. Just suck it up. Be down there. And we were down there Monday, Tuesday. We was down there studying, getting to know each other, recognizing what certain strengths were. I pretty much got a hang of it pretty quick. So I helped people that were maybe stuck on a word. I think we had one person in our class. Oh man, I wish I could remember. There was a certain word he was just stuck on for whatever reason. Like maybe instead of saying air brake, he was saying air compressor or something like that. Like it was just like he could not get it out of his head. Like, no, it's an air brake or whatever the word was. So we all helped them with that. But that's the main thing that you're there for, right? So you spend a lot of time in the class, but you're also doing your air brake test. All that really comprised of is pumping the brakes, making sure your valves are popping out. You'll do like a tug test. You're making sure your mirrors are adjusted to you. Your lights are all working. Like, again, all of it is in the script. So there's no reason to not know it as long as you're studying the script. Don't act like you're a know-it-all, because we had a few of those. I mean, everybody did pass, but there's definitely people that it's like, damn, I know I'm forgetting the thing. Just study. Repetition is key. Once you get the air brake portion done, that's like the main test you got to pass. Everything else isn't a pass-fail, but that's a pass-fail. Everything else, as far as like learning your vehicle inspection and everything, you'll miss a few things, stuff like that, but you don't even have to worry about that until it's testing day for you to actually get your CDL. The only thing that you're tested on prior to that is the air brake test. They're going to teach you your forward stop, backing maneuver. I don't remember the name of the forward, but basically, so imagine you're going straight, you kind of curve to the left and then straighten out. You weave through the cones, and then you do the same thing in reverse. I don't remember the exact names of the tests, but those are the 4 maneuvers that you have to learn to pass your CDL. And when I tell you they give you step by step, like anybody can do it, you will pass. You will pass. The only thing, again, we all passed our maneuvers. The only thing why the 9th person didn't pass was on the eval. Basically, they take you out, you drive around Springfield, they hit a curb. That's an automatic fail. If you hit a curb, everything you did up until that point doesn't matter. It's an automatic fail. So all that to say, make sure you're watching your mirrors out there, right? The orientation is 6 days. You're out there for a total of 3 weeks, but the orientation portion is 6 days. Day 7 is your test day. So if I'm remembering right, day 2 or day 3, you take your air brake test. You take a few other tests. You learn your maneuvers. Practice. If you feel like you got it down, practice anyway. If anything, it shows them that you're ready. Don't give them any reason to be on your ass or feel like you're not trying hard enough. Just practice. Like if I really didn't feel like it, I might go inside, get a coffee, shoot the shit a little bit. But after that, I'm back out there practicing my maneuvers. It can't hurt. You know what I mean? There's no reason. Like some people would tell stories about people that were like falling asleep certain places, and like it's just like, you don't give them a reason to send you home. Practice. once you're out here, you can do whatever you want. But while you're there for them 6 days, like, just practice, bro. That's it. You know, it's all it comes down to. You're there from 7 to 4. Just practice. Your first Saturday is a day where you pretty much can practice your maneuvers to your heart's content. So you spend the first few days just kind of learning. You get some practice and some classroom time. But those Saturdays, at least for me, Saturdays were a lifesaver, dog. Saturdays, there is no set thing that you're doing. So if you know, I got my forward stop and my back down, which was the case for me. I got my forward stop down. I can reverse. But what was messing me up was that reverse curve maneuver. I really wish I could remember the name, but again, I'm just turning it on and just talking. That maneuver, I just could not nail it. And when I tell you that Saturday session helped me so much, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have that extra time to just practice for hours, and just get that down. Now, after you pass the air brake test, you're done with your classroom time. They do send you for 2 weeks to drive with Kraft, like Kraft macaroni and cheese, Kraft singles, like that company Kraft. So you'll do, depending on your schedule, I got a full, if I'm not mistaken, 8 shifts with a Kraft certified trainer. You go to most of us go to Springfield. However, some drivers do go to Dallas. I can't speak on what the Dallas training is like, so I'll speak to you about Springfield. It's cool as hell, right? So you'll get your schedule, you'll meet your trainer, they'll come pick you up and drop you off every day at the hotel in the truck, right? My trainer, Art, if you get him, you'll be in good hands because he picked me up the first day, and after that, he never got behind the wheel. So from the moment we left the hotel and got to the Kraft plant, I did all the driving, all of it. I will stress this, even if you feel like you've got the driving down, just from the stories I've heard from other drivers, do not let your trainer override you. What I mean is, if you know that you need practice, tell them that. Because we had a lot of people where it was test day and they're like, I barely drove. The whole 2 weeks, I barely drove. I never got to practice my backing. Whereas me, I'm like, I did all the driving from like the moment Art picked me up. All of it. All the backing. He never was like, you're taking too long to back. Give me the wheel. Don't let them do that. At the end of the day, you're there to get their CDL. And as much as I would like to believe the trainers are training you because they like training and they just love to see young, spry individuals get their CDL, they're there to get paid. If you pass the CDL, they get paid. That's why I assume most of them do it. Do not let them try to tell you what to do. If you need the experience, if you know that you don't feel comfortable, tell them that. And if they have an issue with that, you take it up with the respective people that you need to take it up with. So for me, boom. We did the Monday through Friday on the terminal. Saturday, we came there. By the way, they do feed you lunch every day at the terminal. It's paid for. It's not the greatest. It's Little Caesars. It's some Italian spot they got. It's they cook on the grill every Friday. Saturdays are Hardee's. They take you to Hardee's, so you all actually get in the van and go to Hardee's. But every other day, lunch is provided for, so they bring it. And it's for everybody, not just the trainees. So if there's people there waiting for upgrades, people just coming by for whatever reason, everybody get fed. You got to sign a sheet. Every morning when you come into the terminal, you sign a sheet to say, hey, I'm here. There's 2 sheets to sign. I can't remember what the second one's for. Oh, the second one is to get you paid on Fridays, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You sign those 2 sheets. That's how you get fed, and that's how you get paid. Actually, let me talk about the pay portion because that's actually super, super important. If you do not have your financial affairs in order before you go there, it's going to be rough. What I mean is, if you're used to making, I don't know, 1,500 every 2 weeks, and then you just go out there without some kind of savings, without some other income coming in, it is going to be rough. And that was the case with me. I had just moved, like it was just a lot going on. While you're there at the terminal, you get paid $200 a week for those first 3 weeks. $200. I don't know about y'all, but I spend more than that in food on a week. So if you got rent, you got car notes, all of that, it's gonna be rough for those 3 weeks. Don't let it stop you. I would say in my case, we got by. You know, I did what I had to do. I just sent the whole 200 home. I'm like, I know it's not much, but do what you guys can with this. And I spent most of that time fasting. I ain't even gonna cap. They fed us breakfast. They fed us lunch. After that, I'm good. You know what I mean? On them days where I was at Kraft, like a couple sandwiches, you know what I'm saying? Couple ham salami sandwiches, 2. Hey, that's really all I got to say, man. Like, it just wasn't a lot, man. That's why I say that breakfast was everything for me. Like, when you ain't got, I'm down there, and I'm making sure I'm getting what it's worth for me. You getting that 200. So they cut you a check, then they take you to a truck stop to cash it. It's $200 cash. I had to go through some things to get it sent home. For me, I get the $200 cash. I go to Walgreens. It's like a kind of like a MoneyGram situation. Boom, it goes into my joint account with my wife. Be prepared for that. After you pass your test, from that day moving forward, you are eligible to receive $700 minus tax per week, which is much better, but still not the greatest, depending on what your financial situation is. So in my case, after I passed my test, I was there at the terminal maybe a week. All that time, all you got to do is show up every day. Just show up every day. You'll get that $700. Sign that sheet every day. You'll get that $700. Some people took weeks to get trainers, especially women. You may wait at that terminal for a very long time to get a trainer. Some people don't want to train women. A lot of women only want to be with women. So if you're picky, you might wait. I didn't really care who I got. I just say, hey, if you can get me with someone that don't smoke, that's cool. My trainer vape, ain't got no issue with him. It's vaping, you know what I'm saying? No harm, no foul on me. But yeah, if you're like, I don't want to be with anyone that smokes, I only want to be with, you're going to wait for a while. So just be prepared for that. But while you're waiting, you're getting 700. So you're getting this paid the same whether you're on a truck or you're not. The only thing that changes is, okay, if you're not on a truck, you're going to have to suck it up with the 700 for longer. But if you are on a truck, you're getting closer every week to getting your own truck, which is what we're all here for. So we were talking about craft. So what you're going to be doing, basically, what you're learning is actually driving a truck, which is what craft teaches you. You don't learn that at the terminal. I want to reiterate that. You do not learn how to drive a truck at the terminal. You learn how to pass a test. What you do learn at craft is how to drive the truck. The best thing about driving with craft, and I'm not sure what everyone's truck knowledge here is. Wasn't really familiar with all of the terminology, but when you're driving with craft, the tandems are all slid all the way back. So imagine if you look at a tractor trailer, right? Though the rear wheels on the trailer can go a certain amount forward, or they can go all the way to the back of the trailer. If they're all the way at the back of the trailer, your turns have to be wider in order for you not to hit stuff, right? So you can make a tighter turn the further up those wheels are. The further back they are, the wider turn. So what that does teach you, you're driving in, it's not even really a bad condition. It's more so you're driving in a way where you're gonna have to make the widest turns possible, right? and a lot of them is two lane traffic. So, and people in Springfield, like, they're familiar with Wilson. So if they see you coming and you need to make a turn, like, they'll back up for you, or they just won't pull up as far because they already know, okay, they're training. So that part is cool. You get to learn that way. You're not like you're learning how to drive one way and then you get out there and then you start knocking stuff over left and right. So that's one thing. Two, the cool thing about it is it's in caves, right? So I didn't know a whole lot about Missouri before I got out there, but it's the cave state. All of the training you're doing, dog, while you're at craft, it's in underground caves. It's cool. It's beautiful. Like, I like it. And it's a cool, like, 70 degrees year round, rain, hail, sleet, snow. The temperature stays the same. There's no AC. Like, it's just a constant temperature because it's underground. So that part is cool. Um, and it's pretty much just driving back and forth. Now, on my case, like, there wasn't a whole lot of loads. And depending on, by the way, you'll either get night shift or day shift. I did my Saturday at the terminal, and then my trainer worked Sunday through Thursday. So I literally did Monday through Friday at the terminal. Saturday I was at the terminal, practicing maneuvers and stuff. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was my schedule. I pretty much had however many days that is, like 12 days nonstop of, working. Some people, we did our Saturday, they had Sunday, Monday off. Like, whatever your trainer schedule is your schedule, and it's nights or days. So keep that in mind too. We had one person that couldn't be with us that first Saturday because their trainer was on night shift and they had to get acclimated. So be prepared for that. But it's the same route. Like, you're literally taking things from the caves to a drop yard back to the caves. But what that teaches you is how to drive the truck, how to turn it, how to back into a dock, how to dolly down, which is basically like the landing gear, how to, do that. Coupling and decoupling. So the hoses that go from the trailer to the tractor, undoing all of that. Doing certain paperwork. There's not a whole lot. Your trainer will do most of that. But there's a Qualcomm. It's like a mini tablet on the truck. Just sending that kind of stuff. You know, using your turn signals, everything. Like, you will learn everything that will set you up to drive a truck in the real world. You're learning it at craft, and it's literally a fixed route. Sometimes Art would take me slightly off to, like, show me something, but outside of that, it's a fixed route. You know what I mean? You have one or two entrances in the cave, so, like, your route will differ slightly depending on which place you need to drop, which building you need to drop it off of, but it's all the same for the most part. Again, man, doing that while making that $200, I feel like they should do something about that because it was rough. I ain't gonna cap. But that's why I say you should have some kind of game plan before you go out there. I did not, so I suffered because of that. But you do that for 2 weeks. I'm gonna throw this in there. I said it before in the video, but I'm gonna say it again. Those Saturdays are optional. But for you as a driver learning to drive, they're mandatory. Do not sleep on them Saturdays. My first Saturday, so I did my Monday through the following week, all the way through Thursday. I have Friday and Saturday off. I was there Friday and Saturday, right? So Friday, I got to be there with the new guys coming in. So you kind of got to get in where you fit in because they got first dibs. But Saturday, that first Saturday, it was me and one other guy. So I literally, from 7 until like 2 o'clock, I got to, by myself, in my own truck. I didn't have to switch with nobody. I didn't have to wait for somebody, wait for an available truck. There's like, I think they're expanding the terminal now, but at the time, I think we could have up to 5 trucks going at once. So in a class of 9, sometimes, you got to alternate. Or sometimes they would put us in groups, while other people, maybe in different classes or whatnot, are doing different things. But that Saturday, it was just me and one other person, bro. I had my own truck. And I got to practice over and over and over. By the time I left that Saturday, I'm like, oh, I'm straight. Ooh, man, like, because I left to go to craft. I'm like, bro, I don't know if this is for me. By the time I left that first Saturday, bro, like, I felt like a pro. When I tell you, like, I literally, like, it was just like, bam, nail the maneuver, run it back. Like, no time in between. I ain't get out and converse with nobody. Like, it was just over and over and over till I got it down. And so eventually, we're all done with our craft training, and then we come back for our tests. Um, Unfortunately, when you start talking to people in your class, everyone is some people are down because, like, I barely got to drive. They don't take advantage of the terminal days, and whatever the case is. But still, before you take your test, you still get at least a day to practice maneuvers, ask any questions, pick people's brain, ask them things. That's what they're there for. Whether they've been there for, bro, the people that just get their licenses are actually in many cases more helpful than people that have been there. You feel me? Because they can tell you verbatim, like, hey, this is what I did. You know what I mean? Like, this is, some of the people, we got there at a time where the tests changed a little bit. So we didn't need to learn as much as previous drivers, right? It was a new thing when we got there. But the downside is the test is graded more strict because of that, right? So imagine this. If you have 100 things that you can get points on, even though you have to learn more previously, if you need an 80% to pass, you can miss 20 things as far as your inspection, your air brake test, certain things with your maneuvers. With the new test, you might only be tested on 20 things, right? So if you're talking 80%, if you miss 4 things, you're out of there. Those 3 weeks were for nothing. You go home without your CDL. But again, it's 4 maneuvers. You do your air brake test. Again, study. Never feel like even if you feel like you got it down, practice anyway. By the time, like, the test day came around, like, as it got closer to test day, there were, like, certain things that I started getting in my head about. And it showed when I'm doing my maneuvers. I'm like, dang, like, how come it was that Saturday I had it down and it was because I was getting in my head. Once I shut the voices up in my head and went through, okay, they said, dude, it came right back because I went through step by step exactly and stopped trying to put my own sauce on it because I was just so confident. Oh, I'm a professional driver now. No, just do it how they tell you to do it and you will pass. I guarantee you. The only person in our class that didn't was because he hit a curb. They can't teach you not to hit a curb. You feel me? But if you're watching your mirrors like you're supposed to, it should be damn near impossible. And everybody knows about that curb. They can't tell you anything about the driving test beforehand, but they will tell you there is a curb that messes people up. So make sure you're watching your mirrors. They will tell you this. And, you'll know it when you see it. When you make that turn, it's like, oh, okay, that was a little, you know what I mean? But regardless, so that's the orientation in a nutshell. I'm sure there's so many things that I missed, but again, I just wanted to get on here and start something that I should have started long ago. Um, it is a very simple process. It feels like forever. It feels like forever, but forever is nothing compared to the next few months you're gonna have with the company. So in the next video, we'll talk about what it is like after you're done, you got your CDL, you meet your trainer, which I was just assigned a random trainer. Some people knew we had like a father-daughter duo who drove together. We had a husband-wife that drove together. The rest of us pretty much just got random trainers. We had one guy took his test on a Tuesday. He was gone. That was my roommate. He took his test and he was gone that day. Me, I waited for a week. For whatever reason, maybe it's the holidays. We were there through Christmas and New Year's. Keep in mind, right? So there just weren't a lot of trainers available that didn't want to go home. So some of us sat. I mean, some people, bro. When I got done with my trainer, which takes about 5 to 6 weeks, I went back to the facility. There were still some people that were there before me, and some people in my class still waiting on trainers. Again, it depends on how picky you are and whatever the situation is. But for the most part, I was like the last in my class to go. And I waited about a week to get my trainer. But we'll talk about the training and stuff like that in the next video. If you guys have any questions, man, feel free to hit me up. You can send me an email. I'll put that somewhere in the description. Maybe we'll get to a point where we're answering questions directly in the videos, make like just a question and answer type video. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. But again, leave it in the comments, man. I'm responsive. This is what I do full time, by the way. You know, I'm sure you can tell I got the headphones, I got the mic, like this is what I do. But yeah, that's it, man. Hopefully that was some help. If not, hey, it is what it is. Peace.